The Narcissist. I was still crying by the time I turned the shower off and got out. The sobs had turned into sniffles. My body ached. I was ashamed of the sporadic hiccups that always accompanied the ceasing of heavy crying. I felt like a little girl. I dried off with a towel and got into a cold, empty bed. My brain had evaporated. I didn't know what to think anymore. I was tired. The song had stopped playing. You don't have to look it up if you don't feel like it. Richard's and Joe's forms circled around in my head like cartoonists would draw a little cherubim circling above the head of a person who had just gotten knocked out. Tom and Jerry. I closed my eyes. I curled up into a ball and I went to sleep. The book. The last thing on my mind was getting to this point in the book. The big reveal. The climax. Or the resolution. The next day I got up at 15 minutes before my shift started. Applebee's was only 5 minutes away. I didn't brush my nappy hair that had gotten unmanageable ever since I had started writing. I dressed myself in the tight black polo that I had specially picked out at Kohl's to show off my muscular arms. I put on my black pants. I put my Applebee's name tag on. I drove to work. I didn't think about the night before. My brain wasn't ready to sort everything out yet. My body felt as if it was behaving on its own, driving to work, getting out of the car, walking in and waving at my coworkers. My dad was already at the bar. I walked up to him and shook my head. I don't understand how you have the time to make any money if you spend 3 hours a day at this watering hole, I said to him with an antagonizing smile on my face. Dad winked at me. Shaun, you'd be surprised to know that your father's been at this for a long time. So how about you worry less about how I make my money and worry more about how you're going to pay next month's rent, making $20 a day here, he said. I smiled. Capital Grille will come through in September. I told you that. I'll get the job there and then make more money than you can possibly dream of, I said sarcastically, wiggling my fingers at my father's face in an exaggerated manner. He laughed. And what happens when September comes around and they ask you to wait another 3 months? Or if they just flat out tell you the position's been taken? It's pretty hard to get in there, son. That's what I was trying to tell you before you quit the job at the diner. At least there you had steady income. Well, I'm notorious for making choices that are detrimental to my well-being when I'm unhappy. But I will get the job at Capital Grille, Dad. Everything will work out for me. I was destined to succeed. I told Richard the other day, when I get the job, it will be like God telling me that everything will be okay, that I will get to where I'm going, I said. And where exactly are you going, Mr. I refuse to get a college degree? My dad asked. I'm going to happiness. I'm going to being a better person. I'm going to success. I'm going to respect. I'm going to everything I've ever thought I never had, but always knew I deserved. That's where I'm going. And I'm going to L.A. Capital Grille will pay for that. My father took a sip of his beer and smiled. Good luck with all that, he said. I walked away. Dave, the energetic manager, was heading in my direction. A young girl was following behind him. She was new. I recognized her from high school. I had seen her in the hallways but had never spoken to her. She was tall and had a pretty complexion. Her breasts were the most noticeable features about her. They were large and perky. She wore a black shirt that allowed too much cleavage to show in a professional environment. I've always loved large breasts. I didn't bother looking over at my father. I knew he'd be checking her out as well. I hated that we were most likely thinking the same exact thing. Shaun, this is Erica. Today's her first day. Erica, this is Shaun, Dave said. Hi, Erica said with a friendly but timid smile. I smiled back at her. Dave walked away, leaving me and Erica alone. I leaned against the wall and grabbed the banister behind me. I surveyed her. My eyes went up and down her entire frame. She watched me do it. So you're the new girl, huh? I asked with a cocky grin. Yeah, like he said, today's my first day, Erica said. I probably shouldn't be talking to you then, I said, turning my face away from her. Erica laughed. And why is that? She asked. I turned my head to look at her. I stopped smiling. I was aware of my entire body. My arms spread out on the long banister behind me, my triceps bulging out of my tight, short-sleeved shirt, the expression I had on my face, cocky but sincere at the same time. My hair. I groaned inside my head. My hair could fuck the whole thing up, I thought to myself. I didn't know she was going to be here. I would have gotten a fucking haircut. I didn't let the insecurity show. I stayed in character. I think you know why that is, I said, staring straight into her eyes. My lips spread into a careless yet confident smirk. I exuded dominance. My fucking hair is going to ruin this. Erica laughed again. If you say so, she said. How old are you? I asked before she even finished speaking. 18, she replied. I slid away from her on the banister and laughed. I definitely shouldn't be talking to you now, I said. She giggled. But why? I looked at her again. I made sure to put emphasis on the sudden realization. One eyebrow went up. My eyes squinted ever so slightly. I couldn't look like I cared too much. You went to RV, didn't you? I asked. Yeah, I did, Erica said. Do you know me? I asked, my smile vanishing again. Aren't you the guy from Young Folks Comedy? Erica asked. I let the cocky smile return. I got off the banister. Yeah, I said. Then I walked away. I will fuck her. I stayed in character for the duration of the shift. Every movement I made was practiced. The way I smiled at customers, with a type of arrogance that said, I don't give a fuck, was for her. The way I positioned myself against the banister, cockily and full of swagger, was for her. I went into the bathroom and looked at my hair in the mirror. I couldn't attempt to fix it with some water because then she would know that I'd care. My character didn't care about what people thought of him. Haircut after work, though, definitely. The shift was 3 hours. It was strange. The crying fit I had had only the night before seemed like a distant memory to me. I wasn't in that person's skin. The book that I had been so excited to write suddenly seemed inconsequential. Sinem, the girl I had felt such a need to call and have console me, was forgotten in those 3 hours. I was aware of it. I was aware of it all coming back, my old ways, my faking. I went straight to the barbershop after work. It was packed. I sat down and waited for 15 minutes. I never waited to get my hair cut. Normally I would just walk in and only stay if I saw that there was no line. That day I waited 15 minutes. There were 4 other people in front of me by the time I stood up and walked out. It didn't make sense, this turn of events. None of it made sense. What about the book? I was doing so well. I had just gotten a major breakthrough in the story. I had all the inspiration I needed to be confident that I could write this book and make it successful. It told a great story. I wanted to focus on it. I forced myself to focus on it. The story. I thought about the night before. Me in the shower crying with that song stuck in my head. Let that memory motivate you. You have to get to that point. You have to. Otherwise it was all for nothing. I understood. I drove home with renewed excitement. My diary was waiting for me. I smiled. Caleb had laughed when he heard me refer to my book of notes as diary. You just have to choose the most effeminate words to describe things. Mommy instead of mom or mother, and diary instead of journal, Caleb had said. I thought it was funny at the time. I wasn't aware of things like that. Caleb was good at telling me who I was. I got home and ran upstairs to my bedroom, throwing the door wide open. A breakthrough. A breakthrough had happened. I was so excited. I grabbed my composition book / diary and opened up to a new page. I wrote the date first. 8/6/2013. The Narcissist. The title of this book should be called The Narcissist. From this point on in the story, it is about Shaun Hunt. No more interviewing Rich, Joe, and Chris about what's going on presently. That's done as of 8/6/2013. From now on, the story is completely mine. Everything is from my perspective now. First person. The story is mine. I get to decide how I'm going to handle that. The story is mine. Do I care what happens in the lives of Chris, Joe, and Richard still? Am I done with having interest in their present lives now that I no longer need to write about them? This is an amazing experience. It's my story now. I don't have to force Richard to reveal what he felt about my little episode last night. I will never show his perspective again. It's all me. It will be hard to handle. Everything that happens in my life I will want to write about and include. Me going to the barber to get a haircut to look nice for an 18-year-old with large tits. I want to include that. I've always found myself fascinating, but in order to get to this point, I must care less about my life in order to continue to write about the others. I'm on page 70. Caleb and Chris just had their little altercation in my old kitchen. I have to cover a lot of ground to get to where I am now. Let your life be boring. Care less about this power. Let it go. Enjoy this moment. But let it go so you can write this book. For the readers, if you made it this far, thank you. I put the pen down and thought for a second. I'd like to add right now, if the ending is 100 pages after you read this, please strangle me. Please, I give you permission. Last thing, I swear. Just talked to my girlfriend about me being excited for the ending. This is the ending, by the way. That took several minutes. Anyway, I realized that I'm so excited because I finally have an audience. I've always wanted an audience, and in order for me to finish this book, I have to give you guys less. I have to admit to myself that I'm not that interesting, that everything I do on a day-to-day basis is not that interesting. My audience wants me to finish the book, with no more interruptions. Sorry. I did it. I got to the end. I just wrote what you just read. I just wrote what you just read. And this. I'm typing rather. I'm looking at the page number. I'm looking at the date. 10/23/2013. I wrote this book in 3 months. I did it. I let myself be boring. I came home and wrote and stopped adding entries into my diary. There were a couple of things I wanted to say to my readers. I've envisioned getting to this page every single day for the past 3 months. I've rewritten the last line of this book every single day for the past 3 months. I got the job at Capital Grille. I've been a servant there, unhappy and focused on getting out. This book will get me out. The ending. Some days, I wanted the last line to be an apology to everyone that I offended or hurt by my selfishness and carelessness. An apology to my friends who I exploited and to the woman that I made fun of. Other days, I wanted the last line to be a big fuck you to everyone who wanted to judge me. Those were the days when I was working a double and pouring water for people who looked at me like I meant less than a fucking dog to them. I've been angry. I've been scared. I've been sad. I wrote a big speech in my head talking about how I'm not a martyr, about how I'm not killing myself by writing this book, but letting myself live. Now that I'm here, on the last page, there's only one last line that is fitting. Something that can encapsulate this moment in time. 10/23/2013, 10:32 p.m. I'm happy. I'm very happy. And there you have it, folks. 240,000 words. The Narcissist by Shaun Fury. If you got this far, I mean, the book is done, just so you know. This is just the author talking to you. I'm done. I guess I'm on to make more contributions in the art world and the entertainment industry. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope to give you some more good shit. Thanks.